Welcome back to the Hardcover Hooligans podcast. My name is Mac, and with me, as always, is Danilo. And Danilo, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever, before reading this book, did you know or have any idea what the I Ching was?
I did actually.
Nice. Good, good. Because it's a big part of this book.
Which I would not have guessed in a million years. It's
no.
kind of crazy.
It's famously a part people don't like. Nerds online are like, there's so much I Ching reading.
It's a central, it's like the central thing.
Yeah, I would say it might be the protagonist. It is what keeps the story moving along.
The book is a protagonist in a book.
And if you haven't guessed, we're by the title or the I Ching mention, we're reading The Man in the High Castle, a terrifying glimpse into a totally imagined world where Nazi Germany wins, and Imperial Japan wins World War II.
They tag team it, and they both, bring it
Famously,
home.
they were a tag team, like the Heart Foundation. They're the Nazi Heart Foundation of the WWF. Let's just say, yes, this book came out. It was published in 1962. Won the Hugo Award, which is important. It's the only Philip K. Dick novel to win a Hugo.
Oh,
Award.
really? I thought he had a bunch.
No,
I guess not.
No. This book also maybe was winning the Hugo Award maybe the worst thing that ever happened to him. Well,
oh really?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it. This is big for a genre fiction podcast. This is the first Philip K. Dick book we're reading.
And Mac, you're a big Philip K. Dick head.
I am.
Dickhead that we're just going to call you that from now on. This is my first Philip K. Dick novel.
I think this was also. I had read short stories. This was my first Philip K. Dick novel as well.
Certainly not my first Philip K. Dick-based media. I've watched Blade Runner many times,
yes.
Total Recall.
Yes.
I actually have seen a good amount of the show Man in the High Castle.
Nice, which I have never seen.
Which I think is fine.
I've heard it's great. I've heard it has a terrible ending, a la Game of Thrones.
And I don't think I ever got that far.
Yeah,
and so there's some shows where I've watched where I'm like, I think I noped out at the right time.
Yeah.
An enjoyable time. I did not finish it, and that seems to be fine.
But yes, we're reading The Man in the High Castle. This is a book, like I said, published in 1962. It won the Hugo Award. It is not Philip K. Dick's main. This is the outlier of his work, I would say. I would say most of his work. This book is literature, maybe?
Yes.
Like if they gave this to you in a college class, you wouldn't be like, what? If they gave the Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch in a class, you'd be like, you're losing your mind.
Do you think that's because it's less like sci-fi?
Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this book is released 15 plus 2, 17 years after the end of World War II.
Yeah, which is crazy. That is crazy. That's a crazy thing to do.
Yes.
And also, we'll probably talk about this later. This book changed the way I think about World War II.
Oh, interesting. You think they should have won?
Right. I wish this all happened. Just because I don't know if I've read, just media from the immediate aftermath having like a take on it. That's, I think that's not just like this was bad. Here's literally what happened. I don't know how to say that.
Well, I
but
think the producers is in this camp as well. The film, the original film, the producers. Widely, people were like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
50s, right?
Yeah, I think it came out in the 60s.
In the 60s.
But regardless, Mel Brooks served in World War II.
Right.
And so I think there is. This is even if you were to release, like, I think a lot of people read this book or hear about this book and think it's like a spy espionage thriller.
Yeah.
And it is, and there's no easy way to say this, mostly about a jewelry store.
Jewelry store and Chinese fortune telling.
Yes. And there is some espionage. There's a pretty meta-textual twist at the end of the novel. That in that part, the very end of this book, is what Philip K. Dick is all about.
And I also think, like,
the real.
I mean,
and the
there's
imaginary.
good plotting. Like I can't like chapter to chapter,
yeah.
things happen and something happens, and they're like, "What was that?" And then the next chapter like explains it from a context of a different character, and you're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
I also think this book is the least. So Philip K. Dick famously is not maybe a very good writer. The ideas are always interesting, but there's. I mean, I don't want to make this claim that there's a reason he wrote so many books and only a few of them people are like these are the good ones. But the ideas are always interesting. It's just he messes up in the execution a lot. And it is because it was a man writing books on amphetamines because he was living as a writer and had to do that to write. And he lost his mind through the process.
Yeah. Now, when you say like not a good writer, having this being like my only...
I think this is a bad example because I think this is good.
Like touch point. Like when you say like, is it like sentence by sentence?
He is
or
the
is
king
it like...
of she boobed boobily down the stairs.
I see.
He is a huge
Which this book,
misogynist.
while not great...
It's not that bad.
It's not that, I guess, in that context, not that bad.
For Philip K. Dick, Juliana might be the best written female character of all time.
Wow.
I think he also has this type. So he was married 4 times. They all look the exact same. They all look like Juliana, and they all look like every female character in every Philip K. Dick book. So there's that too. And I think this book, so the first time I read this book, I was like 15. And, I read it because I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, what if the Axis won World War II? But then you learn it's about like a jewelry store and you're like, whatever. But rereading it, and I've read it in the interim as well, I've come away sort of being stunned that this book woke? This book is pretty woke.
That, and I guess what I was saying about how it changed how I think about World War II, like it feels like it's about the spiritual aspect of this like world catastrophic event and like what that means for humanity in a way that is distanced in an interesting way, because usually you see like World War II where like, oh, this was bad, here's the specific things about it, and it becomes about how bad this was and things are bad. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining myself.
Well, I think in the very beginning, our first chapter with Frank, he talks about how right after the war, he was like, I want to kill every single Japanese person like who occupied the United States. And then in the same sort of internal monologue, he's like, but then I learned that's sort of insane. Like I meet these people and they're perfectly kind and they were just soldiers in this war. And I was sort of taken aback. I was like, damn, Philip K. Dick, you're right. Because I mean... I was really worried going into this reread and being like, oh, he's going to say some insane stuff about Japanese people. And they do in the sense of like like World War II veterans say the insane stuff about Japanese people. But they meet a ton of Japanese characters in this book, and they're not portrayed like the first 2 people in Robert's jewelry shop are like perfectly nice.
That's what I mean. Like it's sort of like a nuanced take on power and who wins something and like a class system, because that's all they know. And so the book is a book about a book that is what happened in our world, which is the Allies. Kind of, but I think the differences are interesting because
they are.
The elevator pitch of this book is, it's taking place in a world where the Axis won World War II, but there's a book circulating that's like, what if the Allies had won it?
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, that's just going to be the meta part of it is, that's going to be our world. But then you read it and it's not, because although there's a Cold War between America and Britain and
Rutherford Tex Gore or whatever, there's a different president after FDR.
And then
there's no nuclear bomb, if I'm not mistaken.
And then bomb. Like Britain takes over the world.
Yep. And then
and all the characters
wins
are like
the Cold War.
Right.
So they become the hegemonic superpower.
Yeah,
that's so everybody's obsessed with this book because it's banned, and you get the feeling it's called The Grasshopper Lies Heavy.
Horrible title for the book. Almost like calling your sci-fi book The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, but it's about a guy who wrote a book in a place he called the High Castle.
Yeah. It's about a guy who wrote a book inside a heavy grasshopper.
Right. This book is the Grasshopper Lies Heavy is a banned book, but as the book goes on, like Juliana like divines that he's moved, like the author has moved. And that's like the first time you're like, what is going on?
Maybe we go back and talk about the I Ching for a bit.
Okay, so the I Ching, I want to describe it. Let me just pull up the actual definition of what it actually is. It means the Book of Changes. It is an ancient Chinese divination text and one of the oldest Chinese classics, acting as a guide to interpreting the cosmic forces of yin and yang. So you cast yarrow sticks or coins onto a table. The shapes that they form in this book have meaning.
Yeah.
And are related to quotes in this book, and you put together sort of your own poem, and then...
And I think in the modern... I looked this up at one point because I wanted to try it. In a modern context, you like drop coins or dice, and like that leads you to specific passages, and you do it while like with a particular question in mind, and then these poetic things answer your question. And it is happens. It feels like every other page.
It's in this book a lot. It is in this book a lot. That would be because Philip K. Dick wrote this book by consulting the I Ching.
Really?
Yes, that is why it is in this book so much. That is also how the author of The Grasshopper Lies Heavy wrote The Grasshopper Lies Heavy.
And that's the big twist at the end where Juliana finds out that the author wrote this book by divining the I Ching. I did not that's a crazy twist. Yes. I did not think that Philip K. Dick wrote. How does one write a book by throwing sticks on the ground and reading a Chinese fortune-telling book?
I don't know. I think that's why it's not... I think you could be of two minds of this. I think if you're going to argue that a lot of this book is boring and doesn't need to be in there, I think you could be like, yeah. I think
and Philip K. Dick's just blame it on the I Ching, man.
Yes.
Blame it on the I Ching.
And I think if you were to take the opinion that this book is actually genius, it is in the fact that this describes a world that didn't happen, and the book describes a world that didn't happen, but is like our world, because he's the author of The Grasshopper Lies Heavy. He's supposed to be, Philip K. Dick. It's just a different guy.
Yeah.
It's just a different name.
It's meta on a lot of levels.
And there is like plot that happens. There's a guy we meet who's a nice guy, reveals himself to be a Nazi spy.
A small business owner uses blackmail to get a startup loan for his jewelry store that everyone ends up hating.
A man is arrested and kills a guy in a parking garage. That I remember so well from my first read, because it was the first time like action happened. Like when Frank is arrested in the parking garage, I was like, "Oh my god, finally something is happening."
A Japanese functionary has a panic attack in a meeting.
Yeah, true. Joseph Goebbels is back in a big way. He becomes the Chancellor of Germany.
I think this is maybe step back. Maybe I'm a huge uneducated idiot, but there are a lot of things and people that I think someone writing in 17 years after the war about Germany would know and understand about the nature of Nazi Germany that I did not know of. Like I had no idea who was like Heinrich Heydrich is or whatever, who that guy is.
Yeah.
And then I looked him up. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Like Reinhard Heydrich.
Yeah.
Heydrich.
Like some of the more minor, like we all know Hitler and Goebbels and all that guy, but you don't know all the other people. At least I didn't. Like,
it was a big war cabinet. Like there's a lot of people, and so to be able to pull the references, I also think that
and the guy that I mentioned, I looked up and like he was assassinated in like the early 40s, and so never made it to the end. So then you wouldn't know,
right?
Yeah. Anyway,
I think this book, when it came out, would be particularly horrifying. It's hard to imagine a book, say like 17 years from now, the United States is in some economic boom again, a la the 50s, post World War I, where, things, I'm obviously excluding horrific racial atrocities happening at the time. Things through the white historical lens are on the up and up. It's hard to imagine in 17 years a book coming out that is specifically name dropping like a fictional book. Like what if say Stephen Miller, I don't know, has a heart attack tomorrow or whatever, or resigns.
Yeah.
Being like, but Stephen Miller didn't, and here's what would happen. I have a hard time imagining where that book is good.
Secretary of State Charlie Kirk has declared
right.
war.
That's
You know,
exactly what it is. I find a hard time imagining a world in which that's good, and so I wonder if people at the time, because this book, it did win the Hugo Award, and Ursula K. Le Guin said it's the first the science fiction literary book ever written.
Interesting.
Like it is going to be the thing that gets sci-fi writers into like literary agents' eyes, and it didn't. But a lot of the literary world didn't care about this book. I wonder if for a similar reason, being like, but this is stupid. Like we did win, so what's the point of this?
Yeah, or or dealing with the tragedy of Europe being destroyed in the Holocaust through like a play like Waiting for Godot, which is more about like it's like this abstract sense.
It's not
of
literally
like
the
dread
Holocaust.
and existential. It's not it's not Waiting for Godot, but Hitler comes out and they beat him up.
Right.
Oh, side point I wanted to say. It has to be devastating that your only award-winning book was written randomly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every time you try, you don't. It's not as good as that.
Well, I think so. Maybe this is where we can start talking about Philip K. Dick. So he wins the Hugo Award. He had been writing before this. His first book is called Roog. Well, it's his first story. It's about a dog who thinks the garbage man is stealing the food from the trash cans for the dog's family, and the garbage men are out to get them. So his first book is like,
I love that,
seeped in unbelievable paranoia, which will plague
sure.
Philip K. Dick for the rest of his life. But he was writing in science fiction magazines, and he was like impoverished. He owed a ton of money to the IRS, who Robert Heinlein actually bailed him out.
Oh, really?
Paid the money for the IRS.
That's stranger in a strange land money.
And I want to read this quote because Philip K. Dick, despite it all, is all of his, I'm sure, very funny opinions. We do agree very heavily on this. Several years ago, when I was ill, Heinlein offered his help, anything he could do, and we had never met. He would phone me to cheer me up and see how I was doing. He wanted to buy me an electric typewriter, God bless him. One of the few true gentlemen in this world. I don't agree with any ideas he puts forth in his writing, but that is neither here nor there.
That's like if Sergey Moss offered to buy us a house.
Yeah. He said he knows I'm a flipped out freak, and still he helped me and my wife when we were in trouble. That is the best in humanity there. That is who and what I love. So after he writes The Man in the High Castle,
which is his number. What out of his whole oeuvre, where does Man in the High Castle sit? Is it at the beginning? Is it in the middle?
He started writing, his first story is 1951. The Man in the High Castle is 10 years later.
Okay. And he died in 82, I think.
Something like
on
that.
the back of the book, yeah. Okay.
The rest of his books that everybody knows, I'm thinking A Scanner Darkly, Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said, Ubik, come after he has so he divorces his wife. During the 60s, he was addicted to speed, because that's science fiction magazines publish every month. Maybe some of them publish bi-weekly. And so he's just up all night, constantly writing, and he's never sleeping. He invites a bunch of other drug addicts to live with him.
Okay.
And they just kind of do drugs together. He released 21 novels between 1960 and 1970.
Damn.
And then didn't publish anything for 4 years. In the 70s, there's this famous story where Dick came home and his safe had been like blown up, like with all his writings in it, and stolen.
Oh.
And the police were like, dude, this is you. Like, there's nobody else did this except for you. He so that's like the beginning of his public
like
what's the word?
Unraveling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think it's just because like he was a depressed child, but it's really, if you do speed for 10 years and don't sleep, that's going to catch up with you in a big way.
And you're already have a paranoid streak.
Yes. Him and Ursula K. Le Guin were in the same class at Berkeley High School in 1947, but they didn't know each other. So that's kind of fun.
Did Philip K. Dick also know J. Robert Oppenheimer?
No, unfortunately, no. He didn't declare a major in school and then left. He just took classes and everything. He had unbelievable anxiety. He described himself as an acosmic panentheist, which he says is, I don't believe the universe exists. I believe that the only thing that exists is God, and he is more than the universe. The universe as an extension of God into space and time. That's the premise I start from in my work. That so-called reality is a mass delusion that we've all been required to believe for reasons totally obscure. So this is already what this guy's thinking, and then he's like, I'm going to do speed for 20 years.
This is how he sees the world.
I'm going to not sleep and do speed for 20 years. In 1960, he claims, like, I'm going to do this for 30 years. I'm going to do it for however long it takes. 2 years later, he wins the Hugo Award, but he doesn't have the capacity to capitalize on that for whatever reason. It just, the rest of his stuff doesn't take off. I think it doesn't help that it takes about 17 years for the next really good one, which is A Scanner Darkly, I believe.
Also, I think, not underestimating the psychological, like what I said earlier, your book that won a Hugo Award, you effectively wrote randomly.
Yeah.
So I would not blame him for being like, I didn't
really write this.
I don't know what works. Like, if that worked, I have no idea.
Because I'm not going to write every book with it.
Yeah, or like, do I replicate it? Do I take what worked? Right. Or like, I don't know what you would glean from that.
So A Scanner Darkly comes out in 1977. A Scanner Darkly is in that book. We're not talking about that book, but
so I know nothing about that book except that the movie is rotoscoped Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. There's a burglary in the main character's home. He lives in a house with fellow amphetamine addicts.
Oh.
And his experience in the main character's recovery program that like ruins his life. This is also another appearance of he literally in a posthumously released book of his, The Dark-Haired Girl, because they all look the same.
Yeah,
is another appearance of this dark-haired girl that he is obsessed with. This is the big one. This is the one that I feel like a lot of people know that happened to Philip K. Dick. He got a wisdom tooth pulled out, and they gave him sodium pentothal for it. Going through the withdrawals of sodium pentothal, he got he says a young woman delivered him like prescription opiates to his house.
Okay.
He opens the door. This is a dark-haired woman again. She's wearing a golden necklace that has a fish-shaped design. He sees the sun glinting off of this golden necklace. He interprets it as this pink beam of light that he thinks is like some almighty force trying to communicate to him through this book.
Okay.
He sees it again somewhere else.
Like the same like glimmer of light or something?
And shortly after learns that his son is ill, like going to die ill.
Oh.
Like what I'm saying is he sees the pink beam of light.
Yep.
He thinks my son is sick, takes the son to the hospital. The son is sick.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what that is. Perhaps the son is obviously sick and he sees a pink beam of light and is like, oh my God. This is where he starts to like go have full hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
He starts to lose his mind. He's like seeing Jesus Christ in ancient Rome laid out before him.
Nice.
He's living two parallel lives at the same time, Dick and Thomas.
Okay.
Who was a Christian persecuted by the Romans.
Oh.
So he's living in ancient Rome.
Saint Thomas?
Yeah. He's St. Thomas and Philip K. Dick, and he's living in ancient Rome and also modern time.
This might be a deep cut. That's very Master and Margarita of him.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Nicely
for all
done.
four of you out there.
This is how he gets the idea for Valis, which is another book. And a bunch of books come from this. Radio Free Albumeth, The Transmigration of Timothy Archer.
These titles are crazy.
Yep. He he writes a letter to the FBI and accuses a professor of being a foreign agent.
Was he right about that?
No.
Damn.
He thinks that he's like an ultra libertarian leaning on the side of liberalism.
Oh, sure.
But he's just in this time, he's like, he thinks their communists are invading the United States. And so he's like, just starts accusing everybody. He used to be a communist, but then he was an anti-communist. He said he described himself as a religious anarchist. He refused to pay income tax during the Vietnam War and got his car repoed by the IRS.
Based.
Yeah. He does an interview, in 1982, does an interview, calls his therapist, and dies.
Oh.
And that is the life of Philip K.
Wow.
Dick.
Damn.
4 months before Blade Runner released.
Damn. Oh, it was only 4 months.
Yes.
Because I saw him like, I saw the date and I thought, wow, maybe he saw it or nothing.
But
Ridley Scott didn't think to send him an early cut
no.
after that interview.
He's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
A famously interesting guy. And the reason his books are full of these interesting ideas, but the reason a lot of them aren't good is just because he's either writing them too fast, he's in the midst of a drug-addled haze. Like,
it's tinted by paranoia.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that's, it's interesting because I could see how being tinted by paranoia would make one really good at imagining the horrific world that like Nazi Germany would create out of Europe and everything.
Yep.
And also why that Japanese functionary having a panic attack in a meeting felt very real.
Yeah, yes. He also had in the midst of all this, had a pretty widely publicized suicide attempt. And so everybody thinks this guy is nuts.
Yeah.
Which does not help like an addict's mental state.
Right. When everyone
all of your contemporaries
you.
think you're crazy. Yeah. And it doesn't help that you're also being an asshole to everybody and have a house full of, you have like everybody in his drug addict house is like 10 years younger than him.
Yeah, Ursula K. Le Guin's not coming over to help you with your novel if you have 10 other meth addicts living with you.
There's this feud between, you know who Thomas Dish is?
No.
Or Disk, I guess I've never said it out loud. He has like a feud. Dick was like
Dick v. Disc?
Dick v. Disc. He thought he wrote a letter to the FBI and he's part of a covert anti-American organization, but it like really boils down to like they were stealing each other's ideas, or like they had like writers beef, and Dick was like, I'm gonna get you arrested forever, buddy. And obviously he didn't.
That's like Hemingway thinking the FBI was on him, and then turns out the FBI was on him. Or was it CIA?
Yeah, I think it was yeah.
I would love to, that was all pretty serious. For levity, I would love to read some of these titles. Because I have it pulled up here, and I'm giggling over here. First novel, Gather Yourselves Together. What could that possibly mean?
I don't know.
This is the Beatles song. The Cosmic Puppets, Mary and the Giant. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. The Man Who Japed. Now, Mac, what does it mean to jape? Do you know?
To joke? To make fun of, I think.
Oh, maybe.
I think that's what jape means.
Practical jokes. The guy who's so the cover is a guy running with a severed head.
Yeah, it means jape means a practical
interesting. Joke. Puttering about in a small land. Isn't that just that's
pretty good.
That's real. That's too real. In Milton Lumpke territory.
Man,
I love this. Are you about to?
The man whose teeth were all exactly alike.
He can't have steak.
No. But his goods, you can see the
Humpty Dumpty in Oakland.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to Oakland.
The ones that are like, you'll see here, Nebula Award nominees are the good ones. So Dr. Blood Money, Martian Time Slip, The Man in the High Castle, obviously, The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
I mean, that's such a good title, and you would never think of it in a million years, but I think you only get there after having titles like Humpty Dumpty in Oakland.
Ubik, Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said, Scanner Darkly.
Now what? You always say that one, and I love that title. I have no idea what it's about.
I can't. It is unexplainable.
Oh, interesting.
I guess
Civil War.
It is a
huh?
Yeah.
Can I? Yeah. This is what I'm reading here on the Wikipedia. The novel is set in a futuristic dystopia where the United States has become a police state in the aftermath of a second American Civil War. Okay, that seems normal. The story follows genetically enhanced pop singer and television star Jason Taverner, who wakes up in a world where he has never existed.
Yep. It's the only other
I
one.
love that.
It's the only other one that was nominated for a Hugo Award. I think it's
I wanna
probably
read
my
that.
favorite one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That is another book. I mean, Flow My Tears, the policeman said, is definitely in the wheelhouse of like, I mean, you just read it. He wakes up in a world where he doesn't exist. You're like, what is going on for this whole thing? But it's fun. It's a man on the run because you live in a police state and you don't have identification. So it's a man on the run. It's really good. And it has a great, great beginning and a great ending.
The Owl in Daylight. That's a fantastic title.
He's got ideas.
Unfinished.
Yeah, and a bunch of them were lost too.
Damn.
Just that's what happens when you write so long.
And all on paper.
Yeah, and all on paper. And then, I mean, as far as short stories go, I mean, Minority Report.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Total Recall.
Yeah.
So he definitely, he's one of the kings of one might argue the king of science fiction.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, like, what him and Isaac Asimov, maybe?
Yeah,
like,
Isaac
who
Asimov.
else? Like,
Well,
who else?
Philip K. Dick, maybe the
Ursula K. Le
modern
Guin,
king of science fiction.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, they're not all science fiction, but they all take place in an imagined future, speculative fiction, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, should we talk about the actual book?
Yeah. What should I have ichingonline.net pulled up. What should I ask it?
Is the podcast going to go well today? Is it going well so far?
And we are at, is it going to go well? We are 35 minutes in. Throw the coins 6 times. Now, there's a button that says throw the coins virtually and a button that says throw the coins by hand.
Oh, you want to press the virtually because by the hand assumes you have the coins?
I know.
But I clicked that and I thought it meant I was going to get to drag and throw coins.
Oh. Throw the coins virtually 6 times. All right. Cast hexagram 9. Read. Winds of change high in the heavens. Air currents carry the weather. Dense clouds blow in from the west, but still no rain. It has been cloudy with no rain today. The superior person fine-tunes the image he presents to the world. Small successes.
Interesting.
Maybe we'll get a medium amount of downloads on this one.
Something to think about. I don't know if the people, doing this show is really hard. Because the ones all you fucking assholes like are the ones that make me want to never do the show ever again. And then when we read a book, we actually like nobody cares.
It's all, it's we need yin and yang, Mac.
Holy shit, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. And this, I guess, you guys aren't assholes. I'm just joking. I suppose we do need both, huh?
Yeah.
I think, and this is not a joke, I think it's really cool that books can exist. You can have Iron Flame and you can have this. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. And I think, we're on the same page about books and such.
Yes.
We have a podcast about it. I think there's some merit to everything, and I think you get more out of it by being less exclusionary, even if it means you hate what you read.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you can be honest about why you hate it.
That's true. We're not, we know what we're talking about here. We're reading The Man in the High Castle, and I'm reading about Violet Sorengale. Two books both related to fascism because they're doing a rebellion at school, and there is sort of like a rebellion revolution undertones going on in this book. So they're actually more alike.
True.
They're more alike than they are different. And that's true.
Now, would Iron Flame be better if Violet Sorengale was on amphetamines?
Oh, yeah, it would be way better. What if Iron Flame was the book they were looking for in this book? An imagined world where the United States has dragons. That'd be pretty cool.
An imagined world where Xaden is so hot.
Where he has an even bigger than 7-inch penis.
We don't know how big.
We don't know how big,
it's
but we know it's bigger. But let's talk about it. So what's different, huh? Franklin Delano Roosevelt assassinated in 1933.
Yep.
That's no good. So the United States...
in the middle of the Great Depression, so
Right.
does not...
There's no New Deal, buddy.
There's no New Deal. So the United States does not recover economically. I thought that was a really fascinating...
Yeah.
I think watching the show, it doesn't go into in depth of all that. And the book doesn't start by like info dumping.
No.
At some point, it does info dump. But at that point, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting the way that he looks. It's not just, oh, this one battle went bad in World War II, therefore the U.S. lost. It's FDR died. Someone got elected who did not deal with the Great Depression well enough, and then was succeeded or tried to do it wrong, and then was succeeded by an isolationist. So the U.S. never got involved, and so Europe got run over, and then that's how they got their advantage. So all very interesting stuff.
And I think that is probably because this book was written in 1962. Like, I feel like a lot of this kind of fiction is so in the cultural imaginary, Nazis were developing, and also it was real, but they were trying to develop like unbelievable weaponry to destroy the world. And I feel like a lot of science fiction assumes that they just were able to do that quicker and then won that way. Like, America still gets involved. It's just, what are you going to do when they have a space cannon?
Right.
Which
I think they've discovered since then was not like they
was
weren't
not
ever
true.
really that close to anything.
No, they just had like blueprints. They were not going to be able to. It was always going to end up the way it was going to end up.
It's and this is as a non-expert, so everyone takes it with a grain of salt. They had good tanks and they did the blitzkrieg, so everyone thought they were unstoppable. So it's all psychological.
And then a bunch of like farmers from Idaho were like, I think we're gonna kill you guys. Actually, we're gonna join up, and it's gonna be over.
Every small town in America sent people, and then it's over.
Can you imagine being a Nazi soldier on Normandy and just seeing the United States Marine Corps not stop? Like, you're just firing from your heavily fortified position, and they just don't care and are just running through it. Like, man, I know America is, to say the history of America is complicated, but I bet there were some GIs in World War II who were pretty cool. I bet there were.
You know what? I'll agree with you on that one. I know this is a well-known fact, but like the reason they did Normandy was because it was an insane thing to do. Like, that is why
it's awesome.
It worked because that is the last thing they would do.
Also, this is important. There's a bomb used, or is this just in the show? There's a nuclear bomb used on Washington, D.C. It's called the Heidenreich device, or
From what I remember of the show, I believe that is explicitly said. Where
that's not in the book, though, right?
I don't think
there's no nuclear bomb in the book.
It's
well, there's certainly no nuclear bomb on Japan in the book. There's just no nuclear bomb used in the United States at all, because I don't remember.
I thought they may have mentioned it offhand, or they mentioned the bombing.
Yeah, I think they did. I think
New York was bombed,
yeah, maybe something
or something like what the U.S. did to Japan in terms of like fire bombing.
Yeah,
maybe the Germans did to the east coast of the U.S.
Well, they definitely do it to Africa. Like, the things Frank Fink is talking about. Frank Fink is what do they call them? We can cut this out if this is not the term you're supposed to say. Aren't they called crypto Jews?
I've never heard that in my life.
The Jewish people living under assumed religions?
Oh, I don't know. I've never heard that word.
Oh, no.
It's not a Jewish man who's related to Bitcoin.
Oh, come on. Yes, that's what they're called. Crypto Judaism is the secret adherence to Judaism.
I gotta say, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Crypto Jews. So that was really a thing happening in Germany. They were just Jewish people living and being like, no, I love the Christian. I go to church every day. But in this case, Frank Fink is just a guy who was recently fired from a factory.
In Japan, in the Pacific States of America. So
yeah.
Japan and Nazi Germany won. They split the U.S. in half.
Because
Germany
they
has
invaded
the East Coast. They invaded from both sides. So the Pacific States of America, which is the West Coast, Japan has. There's an independent central strip in the middle that's called the Rocky Mountain States. And then the Eastern U.S. is all Nazi Germany.
Yeah. it's Nazi Germany in that, like, Nazi Germany is still based mostly out of Germany.
Yeah, it's like a colony.
The United States of America still exists, but it's like a puppet Nazi regime.
Yeah.
And also, they just keep saying the South.
Yeah.
And you can imagine there are like things alluded to, like the South is it's just what it used to be. We're just back to like horrific slavery. But what I think is interesting is that there are free independent states in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's just because America is so big?
I think it is because I don't know if this may be said in the show, or it's said in the book and I remembered, or I'm really smart making this up right now.
Ooh.
I think the two big powers need a buffer state so they don't have a direct border.
Oh, yeah, because they're having, instead of the United States and Russia having its Cold War, Japan and Germany are having their Cold War here. Germany is in space already. They're like on Mars and the moon.
And in universe, Bob Hope has a funny comedy routine about Nazis on the moon. No, Nazis on Mars.
Yep.
Where I guess the bit is they go and they meet the Martians and they look slightly Jewish, and so the Nazis go back and they're like, they're on Mars too.
Yep. Yeah, I think it is insane. That is just an idea for this book I would have never thought of. Like, oh yeah, I guess Bob Hope is still alive.
Well, in Canada's still a thing.
Right.
He's broadcasting from Canada.
It's like in these new Wolfenstein games that came out. Wolfenstein, if you don't know, is a video game series. I mean, it's the first like 3D video game. It's just about a guy fighting Nazis. But in the newer games, the Nazis have won and like taken over the world. And in the second game, you're on a mission to assassinate Hitler at their secret moon base. And he's doing audition. Hitler is running an audition room to see who gets to play Hitler in the biopic. And Ronald Reagan is there. And he shoots Ronald Reagan in the head.
That's awesome.
He's yelling in German, and your character is just there listening. And he's like, "No, sir, I'm from Arizona," and then he just shoots him in the head. It's crazy that's in a video. It's awesome. It is awesome.
That's awesome.
I'll never forget that. But it's fun in those sorts of ways. It's like a fun, like, oh, what would happen in this world? And then you keep remembering, like, oh, right, the eugenicists own the world now.
Yeah, it's slowly revealed that they've ethnically cleansed Africa to make farmland.
Yeah, and the Japanese are not into that. Is that part of the cult? Like at the beginning, there's like broadcasts where they're like Japanese people are like what Germany is doing to the African states. Like all people of all, like I think there's literally a quote. Japan is like all races, all people need to be on equal footing. Except for it, the book later explicitly is like, but not like China and Korea, like not the other Pacific states. They still did like the rape of Nanking times a million to all of China.
Right.
But they think that the destruction of Africa is terrible. There's a lot.
It's very complicated.
It's very complicated
because, so the main plot of the book is a guy running an antique store.
Yeah. Robert Childan.
And he profits off of Japanese people in Japanese occupied San Francisco who are collecting vintage United American memorabilia. And so that's sort of, there's clearly a class system where, Japanese are on top, but they have an appreciation of the lower castes, basically, and their culture. So they'll buy a 1852 Smith & Wesson and
treat the shop owner with respect.
Yeah, well, because Japanese culture is very inherently respectful.
Yeah,
which they'll be respectful and follow orders even while executing the rape of Nanking.
Right. I think, that it's like what I was saying. We get the thing from Frank, who didn't serve. Is that right? He just remembers the world or did he serve?
I don't remember.
But either way, we were supposed to record this podcast on Tuesday, and I thought we were going to run long, so I didn't reread the book again. Regardless, he is so after post-war, he's so angry at Japan, but then he sort of like calms down when he's like, we're kind of doing the same stuff. Like
He's
they just
still
own the
works in a
factories.
factory. Yeah. Well, and the reason he lives in the Pacific States is you can't. I mean, this might be obvious. You can't be Jewish in the Nazi United States of America.
No.
However, and I think the Japanese don't like that, so they'll let you live, but like because of international tensions, they may allow Jews to be extradited to the United States.
You can also buy the book in the Pacific States.
Yes, yeah. It's
you can
less
buy
censored,
a Grasshopper
yeah.
Eyes Heavy. I think maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm mixing that up. Is that the Japanese do still do like slavery for black people, but it's just the Jews. They're like we're not as into that as Nazi German. We're into all the other ethnic cleansings except for the Jews. I think that might actually be what it is.
Yeah, or they just have it's like it's a different outlook on. They still have an emperor. It's autocratic, and racialized, but in a different way than the Nazis, which I think is interesting to think about the ways they're different and how that has played out in this, hypothetical future.
And the obvious big problem that was headed for the Axis if they were to win, which is the two major powers are people of color and the eugenicists.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was never going to end well, even if you did win. And right
Allies
away
of convenience, and it's very clear that they like the Japanese in this book know that the Germans see them as inferior, but the Japanese are also but we're Japanese, so we're better.
Right.
But the Nazis are actually insane.
Yes, yeah.
And they're all on meth, and Hitler is in his mountain fortress dying of syphilis and going insane.
Yeah. I do like,
and so Bormann is the chancellor.
Yep.
It's and you're never in the Nazi part.
No,
of the
we're
world,
in Colorado
ever.
and we're in San Francisco.
Yeah,
and Wyoming.
Which it's more. I think it's more literarily interesting to only hear about it.
Yeah,
you hear the jet. It's a 15-minute flight from New York to San Francisco on the supersonic jet.
Yeah, which is so interesting because you're like, boy, that actually does sound kind of good. But then you're like, yeah, but the Nazis are in charge. So
yeah, but the reason they do it is because they will kill the engineers who don't do it on their timeline because they're all on meth.
Right. So Frank Frink is his crypto Jewish name.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Frank Fink. He is a war veteran.
Okay,
I have it here. He starts a jewelry business.
Mm-hmm. He gets fired from a factory.
He gets fired
for having an outburst. Yeah, some sort of outburst, right?
I think so. I think so. I think he punches he wants to go back and beat up the guy who fired him, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
He thinks of like going back and begging for his job back, but he doesn't. He starts a business making jewelry. Frank has this actually powerful passage. This is what I mean. Maybe I can find it here. This is not usually how Philip K. Dick writes about women, and so I wanted to read the first passage of him describing Juliana.
Oh, sure.
If I can find it. Yeah, here it is. It's a little long, but I was reading this and I was like, man, it's good stuff. But above and beyond everything else, he had originally been drawn by her screwball expression. For no reason, Juliana greeted strangers with a pretentious, nudnik Mona Lisa smile that hung them up between responses, whether to say hello or not. And she was so attractive that more often than not they did say hello, whereupon Juliana glided by. At first he had thought it was just plain bad eyesight, but finally he had decided that it revealed a deep-dyed, otherwise concealed stupidity at her core. And so finally her borderline flicker of greeting to strangers had annoyed him, as had her plant-like, silent, I'm on a mysterious errand way of coming and going. But even then, toward the end, when they had been fighting so much, he still never saw her as anything but a direct, literal invention of God's, dropped into his life for reasons he would never know. And on that account, a sort of religious intuition or faith about her, he could not get over having lost her.
Yeah. And then they don't get back together at the end.
No,
which I was sort of waiting for.
No, she's hanging out with the truck driver.
Which in the show, I think, does happen.
Probably, because there's 4. You would think of it like there's 3 more books after this one.
Right. Well,
because the
not.
First season of the television show ends where they find the guy who made the movie. Because in the show, it's a movie. In the book, it's a book.
Yeah.
So we see Juliana, she's teaching judo. Okay.
In Denver.
She's fucking a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
who is a Nazi.
We find out
We
who
don't know that yet.
she only thinks is an Italian, but turns out is a Nazi assassin.
Yes. I don't remember the circumstances of this, but Frank gets his bag by blackmailing the metalworks company.
The plotting of this I appreciated. So the book starts with Childan, the owner, and he's trying to get products for his Japanese clients, and then it goes
specifically to impress a Swedish national.
Yes, and then the chapter goes, and Frank gets fired and tries to start a new jewelry business with his friend, and Frank is like, I know how we're gonna get the money. And then the next chapter is Childan in his store, and some Japanese official comes in, who's Japanese government official, who's white, comes in. It's like, so we've been tracking down fraudulent products, and we have reason to assume that you've been selling fakes in your store, and we think it was these coming from this place, and so that causes him to panic. But then we find out the next chapter that was Frank because the factory he worked at produces fakes for this antique company, and so the guy in the factory who runs the factory figured out what Frank did and sends him a check for $2,000 to stop it so they can keep making fakes.
And that's how they start their jewelry business.
Yep.
We meet Baines, who is the Swedish emissary.
He's coming from Nazi. He's representing the Swedish plastics market, and everyone he talks to is like, Swedish plastics? They still have that? I thought all the plastics are German plastics.
Yep, because Swedish is still neutral.
Oh yeah,
Switzerland is neutral during World War II. They were neutral in this too, so they're not under.
Sweden is different than Switzerland.
But so is he Swiss or Swedish?
I thought he was Swedish.
I thought wherever they said he was from was neutral. Oh, maybe I think
Sweden was neutral too.
So they both were.
I think so.
Okay, so
I know Switzerland was neutral. Yes, Sweden was officially neutral in World War II.
So he's Swedish. They're waiting for this third party to arrive from Japan to facilitate this business transaction of the plastics. Whatever that's going on. The important part of this is we go back to Juliana, and her and Joe are going to Denver. They're at a different city in Colorado teaching judo. But Joe is like, hey, why don't we go to Cheyenne? And she's like,
I've been reading this book, and this author lives there.
Yeah.
And the book is, we talked about earlier, The Grasshopper Lies Heavy. And it sort of starts popping up in different parts of the book, and people are reading it, and they're like, whoa, that'd be crazy if the Allies won. How that would have happened. And then some people think that that's silly and hokey and totally unbelievable because the United States was never in any position to come in.
President Roosevelt, this is the book. This is A Grasshopper Lies Heavy. President Roosevelt survives the assassination attempt. He does not get reelected. We get a fictional president, Rexford Tugwell.
I know. Sometimes I like to Tugwell.
She Rexes on my fur till I Tugwell. He moves. Pearl Harbor doesn't happen because he moves the Navy out of Pearl Harbor. So they're better equipped to fight the war. The United Kingdom it just doesn't get as badly hurt, and so they help the war effort. They get the Nazis out of North Africa. The British fight the Nazis through the Caucasus. They join the Russians. They beat them at the Battle of Stalingrad. This is all the Kingdom of Italy reneges its membership, betrays the Nazis. The British Army joins the Red Army at the Battle of Berlin. Nazi Germany ends. Hitler is actually tried as a war criminal and put to death. He doesn't kill himself in his bunker with his dog and his wife.
Girlfriend.
Sorry. Right. Bae. Hitler, after the war, Tugwell does New Deal, but for the world. And so the United States, instead of becoming the imperialist nation that we have today, becomes like a hyper peace, prosperous nation and gives the wealth after World War II to everybody. Britain doesn't like this. They do prison camps in India and China.
They have Britain and America have several proxy wars.
Yep.
One can imagine in
Because
such
Churchill
places
is
as
still in
Korea
charge.
and Vietnam, you
Yep.
know, like that
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yep. Except the war is won by the United Kingdom.
I love that Churchill sucks in this.
Yep.
I mean, he also sort of sucked in real life, but, you know, more so. It's funny to think of Churchill as the leader of the Soviet Union, sort of, in a way.
So that's the book, and you might be thinking, well, that didn't really happen.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
It's because you hear about this book in world that is what if the Americans won World War II, and your mind at first is like, oh, that's the twist, is
It's
that
a
these
direct
characters live in the
reflection
book.
of-
But no, the book in the book is
this
different.
third thing.
Yeah, it's a third thing. It's both because it was divined. This is also probably not how the Nazis would have won World War II.
Yeah.
It was divined from the I Ching to write this book. The author of The Grasshopper Lies Heavy divined the I Ching to write The Grasshopper Lies Heavy. So it's all of this sort of literary weirdness happening at the same time.
And I think that is what is so good and interesting about it. It's less about the what if. And this is sort of what I was getting at with it's about, you know, spiritually what World War II was like or felt like to the people afterward, because the characters in the book are constantly overwhelmed by like the sense of wrongness of the world order. You know, the people are having panic attacks, and then they read the news and they're having like, oh my God, the madmen are in charge.
Yeah.
And
it's spiritually bad this is happening.
Yeah. There's like cosmic wrongness in the world because of it. Which is interesting to then the book for them, because everyone has a different reaction to it. It feels, even though the details aren't right, to them it feels like that's cosmically correct.
Yeah.
And that sort of inspires them or has them feel a certain way about the world. And that's such an interesting reflection of we're in the world where the Allies did win, reading this book, and how cosmically wrong it feels to us as well to read about a world that is like that.
And I think that is exactly why it wins the Hugo Award.
Yeah.
I don't think it wins for, you know, he's blackmailing a jewelry store.
And maybe we jump to the end and sort of like the twist.
Yeah. So, just going back to what you said. So Fink gets arrested for being Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Tagomi, the Japanese consul,
he's like the trade director of something or other.
Frees him.
Yes, because there's this whole other plot of the Swedish guy is not a Swedish guy.
Yes.
He's a German, like, defector, basically, who is trying to meet this other older Japanese man in Tagomi's office, who turns out to be an old, retired general.
That's the third Japanese guy they're waiting for.
Yes.
At the beginning.
Yes.
They're like, we can't have our weird rebellion meeting until this other guy gets here.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's revealed that they are doing, like, not a coup, but they're trying to get stuff changed from the inside.
Yes, because the next in line, it could go either way. In the Nazi cabinet, there's a plan brewing.
Yeah, Operation Dandelion.
To nuke Japan, so that then Japan is weakened so they can take the rest of the United States.
Yep.
And there's some Nazi people who don't want this to happen and some who do. And so they're trying to alert the Japanese so that the Japanese can try to apply pressure so that does not happen.
Yeah, this is he also Tagomi kills the SS is there.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get Baines. Tagomi kills the SS agents
with his vintage gun he bought at Childan's store.
Right, and then he tries to get a refund. Tries to sell it back to Childan.
He's like, so I went through some shit.
This is another moment
I can't look at anymore.
He senses powerfully some spiritual energy coming from the jewelry that Frank made.
Yes.
So he buys that. Shortly later, he feels mystically compelled to save Frank, not directly, but by refusing to sign an extradition order.
Yep.
Tagomi has Tagomi.
And the reason the jewelry is interesting is because initially, so Frank and his business partner, whose name I forget, they're trying to make jewelry, but they have decided
his name either.
They don't want to make something that will just appeal to the Japanese people. They want to make something new and interesting, and they try to sell it, and no one wants it. And some other Japanese guy that Shildan is talking to, is trying to sell this jewelry, is like, oh, this would be good for mass-produced trinkets. But then they recognize that there's like something mystical in this that is new and unique, and not just a mimeographed copy of something from a past that no longer exists. You know, it becomes sort of a cosmic emblem for like growth and the future.
Well, it's so powerful. Tagomi buys it, walks outside, and sees our world.
Yes. And I remember that very distinctly from the show, where he's meditating in the park and opens his eyes, and it's like
it's San Francisco.
It's San Francisco, and the U.S. is celebrating victory over the Nazis, and he's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and he sees like Japanese people there, but the white people are like, he
has a vision, and he's like, what's that weird structure over there? And some guy's like, didn't you heard? That's the freeway.
Yeah.
That's the Golden Gate. Well, they have the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah. But that's
the overpass.
Embarcadero Freeway, which is an actual freeway.
Yeah. He's like, then he goes to a restaurant, and there's no seats, and he's like, I would like to sit down. It's a bunch of white people, because he's used to having this.
Right, and they're like, you have to wait. There's a wait.
They're like, come on, dude. And he's like, what? He gets really angry. He's like, what the hell? So he has the vision of this.
He never reads the book, but a person who was affected by the book created this jewelry, and he saw actually with his eyes the other world.
And that's like the mystical meta part of it that I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's really cool.
But anyway, so like we said, Juliana's friend with benefits is a Nazi assassin.
Yeah, who is sent to kill the author of the Grasshopper.
And he just, why does he say, he's like, I'm a Nazi assassin? She's like, okay, and she just shoots him in the head. She kills him.
Well, she has a panic attack, and then she has an idea. So they're in the room. They're like in a hotel room, and they're like freshening up. And all of a sudden, he's blonde and short-haired.
Yeah.
And Juliana's like, wait a second. And then he's like, so, honey, time to come clean. We're going to go kill this guy, and you're going to look really pretty, and get me in there. And so she has a panic attack when he tries to help her get her hair done, because it's like a mess from her crying and trying to run and whatever. And she goes in the bathroom and takes out razor blades, and you think she's going to kill herself. And then he comes in, and she slits his throat immediately. And he's like holding his neck, sitting on the floor in a pile of blood. And he's like, so I'm holding my artery right now, and you can get someone and help, but like, I'm not going to live for a few more minutes. And so then she just leaves.
Yep.
She just walks out of there and drives to Cheyenne to meet with this author.
Yep. What do you think is the literary significance of this? She learns that he does not live in the high castle anymore.
Yes.
He's left.
So the legend was he was the man in the high castle. He lives in some
beautiful
high
mansion.
Security. The idea of him is he wrote this piece of propaganda, and he for fear of his life and from like retribution from the Nazi establishment, he has to live in this high security mountain fortress. But she gets there, and it's just a house.
Yeah.
As a house having a party, she walks in.
Yeah, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I just wanted to say, I think the title is interesting. The Man in the High Castle.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing what I'm about to say, but it had always evoked to me before reading it that the Man in the High Castle makes it sound like it's a Hitler-esque figure.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I totally got that too.
And so to have the book, have it be revealed to you in the book that no, it's actually, it's just an author. It's an author who created a world. So he's given, if the place High Castle is like the highest possible place you can live in, the authors are then given this incredible power over the both real and imaginary worlds.
And I think that's where, it's like a college student's conception of like what art is good for. Like, art is directly in battle with the forces of evil in the world, and they're equally going fisticuffs, and Hitler in a bunker with all his armies can't beat a man writing books and spreading information. And so that's sort of the popular conception that you're working with, or that you think it's.
But then it's revealed that he's abandoned it.
Yeah, it's a guy. He's like, that was too much fluff and ruckus, and I've already written the book, and so it doesn't really matter.
He's also not worried about being assassinated anymore,
Yeah.
which is funny because you just almost were.
Uh-huh.
He keeps asking, like, why did you do it? And he's like, nah, I don't want to answer. And then she's like, please. She like goes to leave, and he's like, okay, fine. I used the I Ching, and that's how I wrote it.
And he's like, you know what that means, don't you?
Yeah. Right.
And she says, I don't know. And he's like, think harder.
Yep. And I think the I Ching reveals the inner truth.
Yeah.
So the truth is the United States won.
Germany and
World War
Japan
II.
lost the war.
And the fact that it's just different is that it's a book.
Or it's a different reality.
The truth is there. Which, yes, it could be a different reality.
Or it's that cosmic sense. Like they live in an alternate reality where another alternate reality that's inaccessible, i.e. the one we're in now,
right?
They're in a book. They can't get out of the book, is where the people, like the Allies, won. I also think there's an interesting, like, even taking that metatextual part out of it, having in a world where they won, having that be its own loss. Like Germany sucks and is about to collapse from within because it's run by maniacs.
Yeah.
And Japan is about to get bombed by Germany. Like that, say what you want about our world, those countries are still functioning and generally exist.
Yep.
And so it's interesting to think about the access winning is actually everyone losing.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what I mean when I think it changed the way I think about World War II in a deep spiritual way. I also think it's interesting that this is, I think, the only war or world event you can do this with.
Yeah,
because it is one of the few times in history where, like, there's
good guys and bad guys.
Is a good guys and bad guys.
Yes.
You can't do this with, like, the Vietnam War.
No, you cannot.
I wrote a book where Vietnam won and took over the world, and it's horrible.
There are, like, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, obviously conflicts in other nations, but I'm thinking purely from an American standpoint.
Yeah.
Because you can't be like Desert Storm.
I mean, even World War I is complicated.
Yeah, World War I is way more complicated. World War I isn't about a lunatic just being like, actually, we're going to own all this.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be in charge of the world now.
We're going to genocide people.
I think that's really interesting that it does mean Germany wins for like 20 years. And you have to imagine that after that, the whole world is going to explode.
Yeah, and I think it's set like
which is almost what happened to us.
There are passages in the book where they talk about, the fact that this philosophy won. It's a philosophy that just tries to eat itself and nothing will ever be enough. And they're going to the moon not because there's something good for them or humanity on the moon. It's because they have to go to the moon to continue to, like, spread this vile thing that it has to grow or it implodes.
And this book was published in 1962. So he had to have written it before that. 1962 is the Cuban Missile Crisis. And so even in the good version of the other world, like a Cold War is going to destroy everything.
Yeah.
Is so like, and you didn't even get to the peak of the Cold War yet when you were writing the book.
Yeah.
Like I
didn't think about that.
Sometimes I'm stunned, like, another person, William Gibson's Neuromancer, is just like, how did you? It's just like one of these frustrating
like out of
things.
whole cloth almost.
Yeah, like Simpsons. It's like how And it's just
The
really
Man
like
in the High Castle is really
it's
a
a
lot like The Simpsons.
Juliana's like
Lisa.
Stupid. It's just
And
really
Hitler's like Homer.
Hitler's like Homer. 9, you know, instead of dope. And that really, you know, people say that, you know, how did The Simpsons predict everything? It's just smart people are paying attention.
Yeah, to history
right.
and patterns. And
I think Philip K. Dick is a smart person paying attention here. I just think it's insane. I wonder how he was feeling. This book comes out and then the Cuban Missile Crisis happens and he's like, holy fuck. Because that was like it. Everybody was like, oh,
we're done now.
It's over.
Yeah.
But we weren't. Thank you, JFK.
Nice.
And then 1 year later, an upset gentleman with a Russian
And
wife.
then, you know, hey, maybe we could, maybe someone should write a book about what if JFK wasn't assassinated and there was some kind of crazy time travel hallucination.
Yeah, that happened in the back of a diner or whatever. We should read that
He
book.
walked past some colored tubes.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what happened. It was very weird.
We're
We're talking about the Stephen King novel 11/22/63.
Yeah. Did you read it or you watched the show?
I read about half of it in high school, and then I watched the show.
I read about half of it when I got it, and then I don't remember it all, and then I just restarted it. I'm like 200 pages in.
Nice.
We have to do it for the show.
Nice.
Because also it's the only Stephen King book that is that long that nails the ending.
That's awesome.
Or so I've heard.
I mean, I've watching the Hulu show, which I know wasn't the best. I remember that ending and being like, "Wow, I like that ending."
Nice. Isn't that James Franco?
Yeah.
Plays Jake Epping.
Mm-hmm.
Another
back when he was doing his to be an English major in university when James Franco is doing his going through his literary adaptation phase.
I know.
Of like
that would have been awesome.
That no one could stop talking about it, but also I don't think they've had any sort of cultural impact. I don't think a lot of them are that great.
No, I don't think so. But the book 11/22/63.
I want to watch him in Sound and the Fury play that guy. Whose name? Anyway.
Whatever the main guy's name is.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you read the Sound of the Fury?
Yeah, but I don't remember. I read it in high school.
Does he not play Benji in the movie?
Does he? Wait a minute. There was a recent The Sound and the Fury movie?
2014 with James Franco.
I did not know that.
I mean, it has 22% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh, that's probably why I don't know about it.
I mean, yeah.
My favorite, I just have to talk about 11/22/63 for a second here. Because we're in the 60s.
That is that's such a spiritual successor to this book. I never really even thought about that.
Yeah.
That means, that's the most obvious thing in the world, but that never occurred to me until just now.
Do you recall that whenever you go back in time, it resets?
Now that you say that, I recall
you
that.
go back to September 9th, 1958 at 11 a.m. every time. And so the reason that the guy in the diner gets so sick is because he got just like 3 months before the assassination happened and had cancer and then had to come back. And that's also how he runs his like diner. He like goes and he buys the same like pound of hamburger meat for 10 cents or whatever.
I do remember that, yeah.
I love that because that is a roguelike. 11/22/63 is the first roguelike novel, which is really, really good. Oh, and also, this is totally unrelated to anything we've been talking about. But Danilo, I said.
Oh, yes, you had a fun fact.
Before the recording. So I
would like to guess. You do your preamble, and then I want to guess.
We've been watching Sarah and I from Canticle for Leibowitz. You will remember from those episodes. My partner in crime. We've been reading. We've been watching.
There is a lot of reading when you're watching Jeopardy.
We've been watching Jeopardy. Okay, and if you don't know, Ken Jennings. There's no way you don't know this, but Ken Jennings won 74 games of Jeopardy in a row or whatever. Second highest American game show contestant winner of all time. Was the first until last year. I have a fun fact about Ken Jennings. It is not out of nowhere, somehow related to the podcast, and a little guess.
So it's related to the podcast.
It's related to.
Is it related to Man in the High Castle specifically?
It is related to the podcast.
Okay, not this one specifically.
I can't say.
Okay,
I'm bringing it up now.
Here's my three guesses. He is Philip K. Dick's son.
Ooh. Okay.
His aunt was Ursula K. Le Guin.
Okay.
He is married to Rebecca Yarros.
15 years ago, Ken Jennings did a Reddit AMA. This person writes, I hear you had an awesome roommate when you lived in Utah who went on to write books and stuff. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how awesome he was? He responds, Hey, Brandon. Brandon Sanderson and Ken Jennings were roommates at BYU. And I discovered it on, this is Brandon Sanderson's personal Reddit account that I just stumbled across reading about Ken Jennings.
/Mistborn?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of embarrassed I know that, but
I just can't believe it. Only 352,000 karma. I mean, come on, Brandon.
That's crazy.
How crazy is that? A software engineer from Salt Lake City, Utah. What do you think they'd talk about? Soaking? Vin and Ellen are soaking?
Yes.
Yes.
They have to. That's the only way. No, they famously get married and then have sex in a tent.
They do. They have to get married first.
Right after they get married. Right after they get Christian married by the Buddhist monk character.
Yeah. Yes. Well.
Oh, I have three. I don't know. These are funny things. With the podcast that have not come up. I looked it up. I can't imagine trying to read the first edition hardcover of this book in public.
Wait a minute. What did you
see the cover?
No.
Of Man in the High Castle?
Wait, what did you just say? I'm sorry.
I can't imagine trying to read the first edition hardcover of The Man in the High Castle in public.
Oh no. The Japanese flag and the Nazi
it has
flag?
The imperial Japanese flag and the Nazi and the swastika on it. They'll certainly get
reading
you
the book on the
attention.
subway and shaking your head no.
This sucks. I thought it was funny. There's one scene in the book where Childan goes to a Japanese couple's house, and because they don't really know what he wants to eat, they cook him steak and potatoes because that's the most American thing they can think of.
Which, true.
Yeah, and he was also like, "Oh, I haven't had steak in a long time." That's pretty awesome. So it's the equivalent of inviting like someone who's of Asian descent over and being like, "I made you some rice."
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yes,
culturally opposite.
Yeah.
Cultural
And then that guy's
insensitivity.
like, boy, I haven't had rice in a long time. That's pretty cool.
I also
Those are the two people he meets at the very beginning, right? That he's selling the things to. He like delivers
Yes.
it to their house.
Yeah. I don't remember when this happened, but the first note I have on this book is the only time I've ever felt like I had something even slightly in common with a Nazi is when one is being interrupted while reading a book constantly by like his like office people. I'm like, I feel you, man. I don't know what to say.
Well, that's what I think. There's so much like annoying bureaucracy that it's like, I think people find it boring, like this book boring, but we see it right
That's
now.
the cool
Fascism
part.
is boring.
Well, and I was having this reaction where I don't remember who, I think it's Frank or someone, or they're reading the news, and it's all about like the Nazi succession after Goring dies or whatever, and like having a panic attack because like it is, oh my God, the madmen are running the world. And, you know, I don't know, that feels like a very of the moment feeling. Like I felt that in like I've been there, man. I've been there.
There was
reading the news and being like, "Oh my God,
I
no
can't
one's
believe
in
this is
charge."
happening. Yeah, there was a Reddit thread I was reading because after I finished it, excuse me, again, I was like, I remember as like a teenager thinking this was boring, but I was like an idiot. So I was reading like, what do people think of this now? And there was a Reddit thread of posts from like 6 years ago, all thinking it was boring, and I was reading along, and then suddenly there's comments from like 3 months ago, a year ago, being like, this is actually the most prescient novel I've ever read in my life, which I thought was really true. I was
That's
like, yeah,
awesome.
I don't know. When you're just, also 6 years ago, by the way, it was still happening. People weren't paying attention. 6 years ago, Donald Trump was also in charge.
Yeah, all the fascists didn't have a plan that they said they were going to do, and now they're doing.
Right.
I think we should read some 1-star Goodreads reviews.
Oh, yeah,
we
for
did that in a
sure.
little bit. I haven't. I'm pulling it up right now. This, I think, has the best books on Goodreads. I think I've said this before. Are between 3 and 4 stars.
It's the same exact thing with Chinese takeout restaurants.
Yes,
I've noticed in my life. Because I don't want any movie that's people are like, this is a 10 out of 10. I'm instantly like, oh, so no, it's not.
Yeah.
So I like to come to my
too
own
many 10 out of 10s on A Court of Thorns and Roses, the worst book I've ever read.
Yeah. There's not a lot of 1-star reviews compared to 4 and 3 stars, though.
Mm-hmm.
This person said, I loved the premise. The Axis wins World War II. I'm done. Thank God I'm done.
Very fast review. What on earth was that about? Tagged read in 2016. So I don't read November 6th, 2016. So I don't really know what you're talking about, man.
The author using the I Ching to write this makes complete sense because the characters and the storylines made absolutely no coherent sense to me. I hate to tell you, I think that might be the point.
This is funny. 1 star. Ugh. I just read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and felt and was left craving more dick. But this one left a bad taste in my mouth.
I hope that person did that on purpose.
I'll read the full one. It has an interesting concept. What if the Axis won the war? But the plot is just awful. Nothing happens. A guy makes jewelry. A guy runs an antique store. A crazy lady runs off with another man. A guy waits around for a month or so to tell the Japanese that the Germans are up to no good. And everyone constantly consults a complex version of the magic 8-ball to guide them through life. It was boring, pointless, and I really hated how half the book was written as though the author just learned English last week. My biggest pet peeve of the book was the writing style where like he gets all fragmented, like it's the sentence fragments.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where it's like he went over to the thing, left the stuff, got the thing, and every character's thoughts are like portrayed that way.
I'm trying
Not
to
a
see
huge thing, but it did towards the end I was like, oh my God.
Is that is every character's thought? Maybe that didn't, because I think that's Philip K. Dick.
I mean, that has
so
to be
it
what
just
it is.
it just maybe I didn't even notice. Is that really every like character's personal thoughts?
Yeah, every time it gets stream of consciousness-y, it has that same sort of fragmented cadence. At certain points, it's more noticeable because sometimes it works and sometimes I'm like, was that a complete sentence? Like just the way I read, I'm like, that wasn't a complete sentence.
I think I am Neuromancer being one of my favorite books. You saying that right now, I'm thinking. You haven't read it, have you?
I've read it.
Oh, you have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what do you think of Neuromancer?
Oh, that was great. It also has that specific.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a huge deal, but at some point I was like, can we find another way to do thoughts? Maybe.
I just was worried if I wasn't remembering he has the Japanese person thinking broken English.
Oh, that does happen.
That does happen, right?
That does happen.
Yeah.
And it is, I guess, unclear whether everyone's doing that or maybe the Japanese.
Is it just
person.
Mr. Tagomi?
No, but then Shildan does it a lot too, where he's his internal monologue. I think every character does it to a certain extent because, like, by the end, Giuliano is doing it, and I'm like, oh, come on, hold on.
Well, he's just writing this chapter. I'm sure I can find one.
It's very like pulpy sci-fi esque. You know what I don't understand? People who DNF at 10% leave a 1-star review and then write a review that might be longer than what they read.
Yeah, just put it down. Not everybody needs it. Or you can start a podcast.
I thought this was going to be a political thriller. Instead, they're doing the I Ching and they're selling collectibles. Like, okay, so you were wrong about what you thought the book was about. That's not the book's fault.
And I think that's awesome that they do that. I was craving more dick, but this one left a bad taste in my mouth.
That was pretty good. I love how every review obligatory has to state what the premise of the book is about.
Yeah, everybody and their mom knows the man.
Like, I don't get this. This is a setting where the Axis Files were more too, and that seemed really interesting. But I think it was kind of boring.
Sentences, yeah, but the writing sentences were missing verbs, sometimes missing subject.
Yeah, that rubbed me the wrong way at a certain point. Because I think I think Neuromancer has that, but it's also written in this like the psychedelic cyber
crazy
way.
Which so is this, but it's 20 years before William Gibson invents that style, which I think is what Dick is doing, but better.
Yes, and I think that world sort of like warrants it a little bit more.
Oh yeah, like the cyber world, like cyberpunk.
This lady does a judo class. She doesn't need to be thinking like she's plugged into the Matrix.
Yeah. But I think it's funny. They're like, sentence. You're allowed to not like a stylistic choice, but to say that like Philip K. Dick forgot to put the verbs in is wrong.
Yeah.
You are wrong.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. It's like you're reading
I'm not saying
Cormac McCarthy and you're like, well, no, just this person. It's
yeah.
like you're reading Cormac McCarthy and you're like, he forgot to put the fucking quotation marks in. It's like, no, that's what he does. And you're not allowed to like it.
Where's his editor? Where's Cormac McCarthy's editor? How do we know if someone's saying this?
But anyway.
This seems like the most lamest person in the world. 1 star. This is a weird book! ! I had such high hopes for it, but was sadly disappointed. I thought it was stupid and read as if Dick was taking acid or eating peyote buttons while he wrote it. Pooh. Most unsatisfactory.
I really hate to tell you that he wasn't doing either of those things. He was doing speed. But yes, you are right.
It's the boring critique of like, what kind of drugs is this guy on?
Just being specific with the drugs.
Seeing any art, you're like, wow, that
I know.
guy's crazy. You're like, no, it's just a person
it's a choice.
being creative. I don't know.
So Danilo, what did you think of The Man in the High
I
Castle?
loved it. I thought it was great.
Nice.
It was fantastic. I loved
Awesome.
it. I would recommend it as long as you know it will not be
It's
action.
not a spy thriller. A man gets his throat slit and a guy shoots 2 SS officers in a parking lot or his office somewhere.
And I think if you liked this, maybe watch the first 2 seasons of the show, which I did, which is really good.
Nice. Good.
Because another main plot line is about a high-ranking SS officer who lives in like Virginia and works in like the Nazi states of America. And
Oh, that's cool.
this might be spoilery, so tune out later. But like tune out if you don't want spoilers. But he like finds out his son is like ill, and so is like going to be on the list to like be exterminated. And so he's like struggling with like his ideology and like trying to save his son. And like,
You know who else
could
found
pull
out
some
his son
strings.
was ill and it destroyed his life?
oh yeah,
Philip K.
I
Dick.
didn't think about that.
Interesting.
So maybe the people who did the show knew what they were doing.
Yeah, almost. Well, that was our trip. That was the first of what I assume will be many
I hope so.
Philip K.
I
Dick
loved it.
books. Do you want to say what we're doing for next time, Danilo?
We will be going full tilt into romantasy. We've not landed on exactly what we're doing next. But we stay tuned.
Yeah.
Follow us online.
We're going back into the
We're going
romantasy
back.
minds, into some books that have been suggested to us that might be good.
Yes.
Or
then we
just better.
And also then we'll be reading more bad ones and telling you about them and doing all that fun stuff.
And can I just say,
yeah.
hockey season's going up.
And I think we'll leave it at that.
I think we'll leave it at that.
Hockey season's coming up.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. This has been the Hardcover Hooligans podcast. If you liked what you heard, please follow us on all your social medias at Hardcover Hooligans. You can send us an email to hardcoverhooligans@gmail.com. Please leave a 5-star review or a Spotify comment, which we just learned about.
Sorry if we haven't responded to your comments.
We didn't know. We just
learned
discovered that
was a
Spotify
thing.
comments exist, so we have seen them. So please leave some more. To the people, you don't need to correct us about Mistborn. That's all right. Well, I'm not going to read those ones. But thank you for listening. If you liked the book, please, I think you should. If you liked to listen to us talk about the book and literally any of it sounded interesting and you weren't turned off that the book that takes place in an imagined future world where the Axis powers won World War II but is mostly about jewelry did not sound boring. You will like it.
It's what the jewelry means to the soul of humanity.
It's literally magic jewelry.
Yeah.
But so that's pretty cool. But anyway, stay
Now we could say something really bad, but we won't. We won't.
this one is tricky. This is a tricky one.
Stay dicked up.
Stay dicked up. Goodbye, everybody.